A night to remember. It was supposed to be a celebration. A milestone marking 20 years of marriage. 2 decades built on laughter, struggles, and triumphs. I'd made reservations at one of her favorite restaurants. A place that was out of reach in the early days, but was now comfortably within our means. It felt symbolic, like a nod to how far we'd come. Oddly, she suggested we take her car. That struck me as unusual, given her frequent insistence that I was the better driver. At the time, I dismissed it, chalking it up to one of those quirks I'd grown used to over the years. Now, I wish I hadn't been so quick to brush it off. The drive started normally. She looked stunning in the emerald green dress I'd gifted her a few anniversaries ago. The fabric hugged her in all the right places. A vision of elegance that took me back to the day I fell in love with her. We chatted casually about the kids, work, and our summer plans. Her laughter, soft and melodic, filled the car. Then, a notification chime broke the moment. It wasn't a sound I recognized. I instinctively glanced at the dashboard. Her phone was in plain view, resting on the console. But beneath her seat, a second phone peeked out. An older model, its outline unmistakable. Before she could react, I reached for it. Her face turned a shade of white I had never seen before. When I powered it on, the screen lit up immediately, no lock, no barrier. A message glared back at me, sharp and unrelenting. I'm already here, waiting for you in the WC. Can't wait to have you while your loser husband waits at the table. The words punched the air out of my lungs. My grip on the steering wheel tightened, and I could feel my heart pounding in my ears. For a fleeting second, I thought I must have misread it. But as I read the message again, the meaning refused to change. It's not what you think, she stammered, her voice brittle. But I didn't let her finish. Without a word, I took a sharp left turn, veering off course. The car surged forward, my thoughts racing even faster. The night blurred around me as rage and heartbreak churned inside my chest. Please just pull over, she pleaded, her voice laced with panic. Not what it seems. I snapped, my voice rising. Then explain it to me. Explain why some guy is texting you about screwing in a bathroom, while I'm supposed to be waiting like an idiot eating breadsticks. Her mouth opened but no sound came out. That silence was more damning than any words she could have spoken. My mind drifted unbidden, to the beginning. We'd met at a carnival when we were in our 20s. I was working the Ferris wheel for some extra cash, and she was there with friends, radiant and carefree. When the ride jammed, she got stuck at the top. I climbed up to reassure everyone, and she laughed about her luck, calling it Herb Night in greasy overalls. She gave me her number when the ride was fixed, and 4 years later, we were married in a small ceremony in her parents' backyard. Lisa was everything I thought I wanted. Funny, intelligent, beautiful. We were the couple others envied. At least, that's what I thought. Back in the car, her frantic words broke through my thoughts. It's not like that. Like hell it's not. I roared. You've been lying to me. While I'm busting my back to keep this family afloat, you're sneaking around like a teenager. Her tone shifted, suddenly defensive. Don't act like you're perfect. You're always working, too busy, too tired to spend time with me. Maybe if you paid more attention, this wouldn't have happened. The words hit me like a slap. Are you serious right now? You're blaming me? After everything I've done for you, for us? Her silence answered me. I pulled into an empty parking lot and threw the car into park. Turning to her, I demanded, who is he? Her arms crossed defensively. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't play dumb with me, Lisa. Who is he? Her eyes darted to the window, avoiding mine. It was clear she wouldn't tell me the truth. Is this why you suddenly needed a second gym membership? Or why you were so eager to go on those yoga retreats? The pieces clicked into place like jagged shards of a puzzle. It's not what you think, she repeated weakly. I grabbed the phone again and scrolled through it. The evidence was overwhelming. Messages, pictures, hotel meetups. One image froze my blood. A picture from Ethan's graduation. It was of me, the kids, and Lisa. She'd stepped away to the restroom, or so I'd thought. The caption beneath it read, "Can't wait to see you later. I wore that red dress you like." The same red dress I'd complimented her on that morning. I couldn't contain my anger. I slammed the phone against the dashboard, the plastic cracking under my fist. How long has this been going on? I demanded. She hesitated before whispering, "A few months." My laughter was bitter, hollow. "A few months? Do you even care what this does to me? To our kids?" "They don't have to know," she murmured, her voice trembling. "They're going to know," I said coldly. "You think I'm going to let you hide this while dragging me through the mud?" Tears streamed down her face, but I couldn't tell if they were from guilt, fear, or frustration. At that moment, I didn't care. "Who is he?" I demanded again. She hesitated before finally saying, "Jason. He's a client." The name meant nothing to me, but the implications were devastating. I had been too busy holding our family together to see the cracks forming beneath me. Pulling out my phone, I started dialing. "What are you doing?" she asked, panic in her voice. "Calling Ethan," I replied flatly. "No, please. Don't bring the kids into this. You should have thought of that before destroying this family," I snapped. She lunged for the phone, but I pulled away. "Sit down, Lisa," I barked. My voice left no room for argument. For the first time that night, she looked truly afraid. Afraid of the consequences she'd set in motion. And for the first time, I didn't care. The day everything changed. It was supposed to be a night of celebration. A toast to 20 years of marriage. A lifetime of shared dreams, sacrifices, and victories. Instead, it became the night my world shattered. Sitting in the parked car, I stared at Lisa through a veil of cold fury. Tears streaked her face, mascara running in dark lines. But it did nothing to soften the storm raging inside me. Not after everything I'd seen. Not after 20 years of trust had been obliterated in a single moment. I held my finger over Ethan's contact on my phone, hovering, deciding. My voice was low, trembling with restrained anger. "Give me one reason," I said, staring into her tear-filled eyes. "One reason why I shouldn't blow up your whole damn world right now." Her lips moved, but no sound came out. She didn't respond, and I didn't wait for one. Instead, I grabbed the secret phone from her lap and opened the gallery. And there it was. Lisa and Jason, tangled together in a hotel room, half-dressed and far too close for anyone to mistake them as just friends. My hand shook as I selected the images and sent them to myself. "What are you doing?" she cried, lunging for the phone again. I shoved her back, my voice a low growl filled with venom. "You think you can cheat on me, lie to me, humiliate me, and walk away clean? Not this time, Lisa. Not this time." The phone buzzed in my pocket moments later. Confirmation that the photos were now mine. Proof. Her face twisted into panic as she realized her deepest secret was no longer hers to control. When we finally got home, I didn't say another word to her. I walked inside, grabbed my laptop, and locked myself in my home office. My hands moved on autopilot, fueled by a lethal cocktail of rage and adrenaline. Step 1: the wife. Jason wasn't just some fling. He had a family, a wife I'd met at a gym fundraiser Lisa dragged me to a year ago. She was sweet, glowing with the radiance of pregnancy, proud to introduce herself as Jason's better half. Better half, I thought bitterly, hitting send on the email that contained every incriminating text and photo. She deserved to know what kind of man she'd married. Step 2: social media. I wasn't proud of it, but at that moment, pride was the furthest thing from my mind. I uploaded the photos to my account, tagging Lisa with a single caption, "Greater than 20 years, and this is what I get. Thanks, Lisa." The comments came fast. Friends, family, even acquaintances were chiming in. "OMG, what happened? No way. Lisa, stay strong, man. You didn't deserve this." The likes, shares, and responses piled up, each one a brick in the wall closing in on Lisa. By midnight, there was a knock at my office door. "Please," she begged, her voice hoarse from crying. "Can we talk? You're going to ruin me." I swung the door open so fast she stumbled backward. My voice was ice. "Ruin you? You ruined me, Lisa. You ruined this family. Did you really think I'd just sit back and let you get away with it?" Her composure cracked. "I was wrong, okay?" she screamed. "I made a mistake, but what you're doing, it's cruel." Cruel. The word made me laugh, a bitter, hollow sound. "Cruel?" I spat. "You want to talk about cruel? Let me remind you, Lisa." I pulled out my phone and brought up the photo of Ethan's graduation. There we were, the kids and me standing proudly. And there she was in the background, her arm around Jason, grinning like he belonged in that sacred moment. You dragged him into my life, into our kids' lives. And now you want to call me cruel. Her legs gave out, and she collapsed onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. You don't understand, she sobbed. My voice was steel. Then make me understand, Lisa. Make me understand why 20 years, 2 kids, and everything we built together wasn't enough for you. Her response came as a whisper, barely audible but earth-shattering. It wasn't just him. The room spun. I gripped the back of a chair to steady myself, my mind struggling to process what she'd just said. What? I asked, my voice low and deadly. Her words spilled out in a torrent of guilt and desperation. Jason wasn't the first. There were others. 3, okay? 3 affairs. I don't even know why. I felt lost. Invisible. Like you didn't care anymore. I stared at her numb. 3. I repeated, my voice hollow. 3 affairs. 20 years. And you threw it all away like it was nothing. Step 3, the kids. I walked out of the room, grabbed my car keys, and headed for the door. Where are you going? She called after me, her voice rising with panic. To see Ethan, I said flatly. He deserves to know the truth. Don't do this, she cried, her voice breaking. Please. You'll destroy him. No, Lisa, I replied, my voice void of emotion. You already did. The drive to Ethan's dorm felt endless. The car was silent except for the faint hum of the engine, but my thoughts were deafening. Memories flooded my mind, Lisa laughing, holding our children, walking down the aisle on our wedding day. Each image twisted into something grotesque, poisoned by the truth. How could someone I trusted so completely, someone I built a family with, betray me like this? Lisa and I didn't start as the perfect couple. When we met, she was dating a polished, smooth-talking business major named Craig. I was the opposite, a broke, scrappy kid juggling 2 jobs while studying construction management. She once told me it wasn't my looks or charm that won her over. It was the way I treated her, the little things. Notes on her windshield after tough days, her favorite snacks during exams. By the time we married, it felt like we'd beaten the odds. Her parents weren't thrilled about her marrying someone who worked with his hands, but Lisa had chosen me. Or so I thought. Ethan's dorm came into view, and a lump formed in my throat. I had spent my life working to give my kids everything I didn't have. I missed Ethan's first steps because I was on a job site. I skipped Sophie's first piano recital to fix a client's plumbing emergency. I told myself it was worth it. But Lisa didn't see it that way. Her words echoed in my mind. You're always working. Maybe that was her justification. Maybe she convinced herself I didn't care, because I wasn't there every second of every day. But now I saw the truth. Lisa wasn't searching for love. She was searching for validation, a way to fill a void that had nothing to do with me. As I parked the car and stepped into the cold night, I knew one thing. This wasn't just the end of a marriage. It was the end of an illusion. And for the first time, I felt the weight of reality settling in. I arrived at Ethan's dorm just after midnight. The campus was wrapped in silence, its paths illuminated by the amber glow of streetlights. Shadows stretched across the empty sidewalks, and the cold air bit at my skin as I sat in the car, staring up at the dark windows of his building. Doubt weighed on me like a heavy chain. Was I making the right choice? Would sharing the truth help Ethan? Or would it destroy the image of his mother that he'd held all his life? Finally, I turned off the engine and stepped out into the night, my breath forming clouds in the still air. Moments later, Ethan opened the door. He stood there in sweatpants and a hoodie, his hair tousled from sleep, his face puzzled and groggy. Dad, what are you doing here? He asked. I hesitated, struggling to find the right words. Can we talk? Meanwhile, back at home, Lisa sat on the couch, her body draped in the anniversary dress she'd worn just hours earlier. It now seemed like a cruel reminder of what had unraveled. Her phone lay abandoned beside her, the relentless flood of notifications finally silenced. Friends, family, and acquaintances were reacting to the explosive social media post I'd made. Comments and questions, shock and judgment. Lisa scrolled through them in a daze, her mind teetering on the edge of chaos. She considered calling Jason, desperate to vent her anger. But deep down, she knew this wasn't Jason's fault alone. This was her doing. Years of dissatisfaction and insecurity had driven her down this path. Not love or even lust, but a desperate need for validation. Jason had been a temporary fix, just like the others before him. Nothing more, nothing less. The conversation with Ethan. Ethan and I sat across from each other in his dorm's small common area, the air thick with tension. His eyes widened as I laid out the details, each word cutting deeper than the last. "Why are you telling me this?" he finally asked, his voice trembling with disbelief. "What do you want me to do?" I looked down at my hands, shaking slightly from the adrenaline coursing through me. "I don't know," I admitted. "I just thought you deserved to know the truth." He ran a hand through his hair, his frustration and sadness spilling over. "What about Sophie? Does she know?" "Not yet," I said. "But she will." "I can't lie to her, Ethan. Not anymore." Ethan's eyes flashed with anger. "You're breaking this family apart, Dad." "No, son," I replied, my voice hollow. "Your mom already did that. Lisa's reckoning." At home, Lisa sat alone in the darkened living room, her mind spinning. She couldn't escape the reality that her carefully constructed world was crumbling. The comments on social media, the texts from friends, and the silence from Jason. All of it was closing in on her. For the first time, Lisa truly grasped the damage she'd done, not just to me, but to Ethan, Sophie, and the family we'd built together. And yet, she knew there was no undoing it now. Telling Sophie. The next morning, I waited until Sophie woke up before asking her to sit with me at the kitchen table. Lisa hovered just out of sight in the hallway, listening but too ashamed to face our daughter directly. "Hey, kiddo," I started gently, sitting across from her. "There's something we need to talk about." Sophie's brow furrowed as she set down her spoon. "What's going on?" I hesitated, the weight of what I was about to say threatening to crush me. "Your mom and I are going through something. Something big. It's going to change things. And I wanted you to hear it from me first." Her face fell, her eyes searching mine. "Are you getting a divorce?" I nodded slowly. "We might." Her shoulders slumped, and her gaze dropped to the table. "Why?" I took a deep breath. "Because your mom made some choices that hurt our family. Choices that can't be undone." Tears welled in her eyes as she asked the question I'd been dreading. "What kind of choices?" I couldn't bring myself to say it. "It's complicated," I replied softly. "But I promise you, none of this is your fault. And no matter what happens, I'll always be here for you." Sophie nodded, her tears spilling over. She pulled away from the table, retreating to her room without another word. The fallout. Lisa appeared in the doorway, her face pale and drawn. "I hope you're happy," she said bitterly. "No," I replied, turning to her. "I'm not. But at least I'm honest." That evening, Ethan drove home and unleashed his anger at Lisa. Words no parent ever wants to hear spilled from his mouth, each one laced with betrayal. Sophie, meanwhile, withdrew into herself, barely speaking to either of us. Lisa and I moved into separate rooms, the distance between us more than just physical. By the end of the week, I filed for divorce. The true fallout. Jason's wife, the woman I'd sent the damning photos to, didn't just leave him. She made the evidence public, posting it online for the whole town to see. Her post went viral, turning Lisa and Jason into pariahs overnight. Lisa lost her job at the gym. Her closest friends distanced themselves. Even Jason disappeared, ghosting her the moment the scandal broke. She begged me for another chance, swearing she could change, but it was too late. The love, the trust, the respect, it was all gone. The aftermath. The day Lisa moved out was surreal. She packed her things in silence while I stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Sophie stayed locked in her room, headphones on, while Ethan sat on the porch, refusing to look at her. When she finally drove away, I didn't feel relief or triumph. I just felt empty. It's been 6 months since then. The divorce is final. Ethan has adjusted, though he keeps his distance from his mother. Sophie is in therapy, slowly rebuilding her confidence. As for me, I've thrown myself into work, fatherhood, and rediscovering who I am outside of being Lisa's husband. Sometimes I think about the man I was before all this, the man who believed in love and happy endings. That man is gone, but I'm still here, and for now that's enough.